The maintenance worker's hands were shaking as she set down her cleaning supplies. She'd been working at Kensington Palace for 3 years, tasked with the unglamorous job of maintaining the storage areas. Dusty rooms full of furniture nobody wanted anymore, boxes nobody had opened in decades, the forgotten detritus of royal life. Room 14B had been locked since 1997. 26 years. Nobody went in there. Nobody talked about it. It was Princess Diana's private storage room, and after her death, someone had simply locked the door and thrown away the key. Except they hadn't thrown away the key. They'd filed it. And today, in 2023, Emily Chun had been given that key along with orders to finally clean out the room. Everything goes to archiving. Her supervisor had said that morning. Photograph each item. Catalog it. Box it up. The princes want their mother's belongings properly preserved. Emily had nodded, pocketed the key, and tried not to think about the fact that she was about to enter a space that had been sealed since Princess Diana died. The door stuck when she first tried to open it. Decades of paint and humidity had welded it to the frame. She had to push hard, putting her shoulder into it, before the door finally gave way with a sound like tearing fabric. The smell hit her first. Not decay, nothing like that. Just staleness. Air that hadn't moved in 26 years. Dust motes swirled in the afternoon light, filtering through grimy windows. The room was smaller than Emily had expected. Maybe 12 feet by 12 feet. Filled with furniture covered in white sheets. A writing desk. A small sofa. Boxes stacked against one wall. Personal items that Diana had kept private, away from staff, away from Charles, away from everyone. Emily pulled out her phone to start photographing. She'd document everything before touching anything. That was protocol. She lifted the first sheet. Underneath was the writing desk. Mahogany, beautiful, with intricate carvings along the edges. Diana's personal desk. The one she'd used for private correspondence. Emily photographed it from multiple angles. Then, following procedure, she began opening drawers to catalog contents. The first 3 drawers contained what you'd expect. Pens, stationery, old calendars, photographs of William and Harry as children. A half-finished letter to someone named Hasnat, dated July 1997. But the 4th drawer, the bottom right drawer, was locked. Emily pulled at it. Definitely locked. She checked her key ring. Nothing that would fit this small lock. She'd have to get bolt cutters, come back later, force it open if necessary. But something made her pause, made her look more carefully at the desk. And that's when she saw it. A small piece of paper wedged into the crack between the drawer and the desk frame. As if someone had hidden it there, folded up tiny, hoping it might someday be found. Emily pulled the paper free, unfolded it carefully. The handwriting was immediately recognizable. Diana's distinctive script, slightly slanted, written in blue ink. If you're reading this, I'm dead. The key to the locked drawer is taped to the underside of the middle drawer. What's inside is for William and Harry only. Not Charles. Not the palace. Not the executors. My sons. Nobody else. Please. This matters more than anything. Diana. Emily's hands started shaking worse. This was beyond her pay grade. This was something officials should handle. Archivists. Lawyers. Someone with authority. But curiosity won. She pulled out the middle drawer, turned it over. And there, taped to the bottom with yellowed tape, was a small brass key. Emily looked around the dusty room, as if someone might be watching. As if Diana's ghost might appear and give her permission or tell her to stop. But there was only silence and dust and the sound of her own breathing. She unlocked the bottom drawer. Inside was a manila envelope, thick with papers. And on top of it, another note in Diana's handwriting. This is my real will. The one they don't know about. The one I wrote 5 weeks before I died because I knew. God, I knew something was going to happen. I couldn't tell anyone. Couldn't trust anyone except maybe Paul. And I didn't want to put him in danger too. If you found this, please get it to William and Harry. Not to the palace. Not to lawyers. To my sons. There are things they need to know. Things I inherited that aren't in the official will. Things the palace has been hiding. Things about their grandfather, their great-grandmother, things about me that will explain so much. I love them. I love them more than anything. And I need them to know the truth. Emily sat down hard on the dusty floor, the envelope in her lap. This was impossible. Diana had died in 1997. The will had been probated in 1998. Everything had been settled. William and Harry had inherited £21 million split between them, plus Diana's personal possessions, plus trust funds that had made them independently wealthy. What could possibly be in this envelope that hadn't been included in the official will? Emily knew what she should do. Call her supervisor. Turn this over to the proper channels. Let people with law degrees and security clearances handle it. But Diana's note had been clear. To my sons, not to the palace. Emily pulled out her phone. Not to call her supervisor. To call someone else. Someone who might know what to do. Someone who'd been at Kensington Palace during Diana's time and might remember what she'd been like, what she'd wanted. She called Paul Burrell. 3 days later, Emily sat across from Prince William in a private room at Kensington Palace. The envelope sat on the table between them, still sealed, still containing whatever secrets Diana had thought were important enough to hide away. William looked older than his 41 years in that moment. Tired, wary, like a man who'd been disappointed too many times to feel hopeful about anything. "You're sure this is authentic?" he asked. His voice was careful, controlled, the voice of someone who'd learned early not to let emotions show. "I had it verified," Emily said. "The handwriting, the paper, everything. It's your mother's. Written in August 1997, 5 weeks before she died." William reached for the envelope, then pulled his hand back. "Harry should be here. I contacted him. Emily hesitated. "He said you should read it first. That you're the heir. That whatever's in there, you'll know what to do with it." William closed his eyes briefly. Even now, even years after everything that had happened between the brothers, Harry was still deferring to William's position, still acknowledging the hierarchy that had damaged them both. "Tell me what you know," William said. "Before I open this, tell me what my mother wrote in that note." Emily recited Diana's words. About the Real will. About things the palace was hiding. About inheritances and secrets and truth. When she finished, William was silent for a long moment. "The official will was probated in 1998, he said finally. Everything was accounted for. The money, the jewelry, the personal items. What could she possibly have hidden?" "I don't know, sir, but she seemed to think it was important." William picked up the envelope, turned it over. Diana had sealed it with wax, a security measure from before modern tape and adhesives. The seal showed her personal crest, unbroken. "If I open this," William said slowly, "and if what's inside is problematic, if it contradicts the official will or creates legal issues, or..." He trailed off. "The palace will want it suppressed. They'll want to lock it away again. Pretend it never existed." "Yes, sir. Probably. And if I let them do that, I'll be doing exactly what my mother was afraid of. I'll be choosing the institution over her truth." "Yes, sir." William looked at Emily directly. "Why did you bring this to me instead of your supervisor?" "Because your mother asked me to." Emily met his gaze steadily. "Not me specifically, but whoever found it. She asked them to give it to you and Harry, not to the palace. I'm just following her instructions. You could lose your job for this." "I know. Why risk it?" Emily considered the question. "Because I'm a mother too. And if I died, if I left something important for my children, I want someone to make sure they got it. Even if it was inconvenient, even if it caused problems. I'd want my children to know the truth." William's expression softened slightly. "Thank you for understanding that." He broke the wax seal. The sound seemed too loud in the quiet room. Inside the envelope were papers, dozens of them. Handwritten, typed, official-looking documents with seals and signatures. Photographs, letters. William pulled everything out, spreading it across the table. The first item was a letter addressed to him and Harry, dated August 25, 1997. 6 days before Diana died. My darling boys, if you're reading this, then I was right to be afraid. If you're reading this, then something happened to me, and the official will, the one the palace knows about, has been probated and my estate has been settled, and you think you know everything there was to know about my life. But there's more. So much more. I'm writing this 5 weeks after finishing what everyone thinks is my final will. That will is real. Everything in it stands. But it's incomplete, because there are things I inherited that I never told anyone about. Things that came to me through your grandmother, your great-grandmother, things that the palace doesn't know exist because they were kept secret for generations. I'm going to tell you about them now. And I'm going to tell you why they were kept secret. And then I'm going to let you decide what to do with them. First, you need to understand something about royal finances. The public thinks they know how the monarchy is funded. The civil list, the Duchy of Cornwall, the Duchy of Lancaster. Official income streams, they're documented and accounted for. But there are other assets, secret assets, things that have been accumulated over centuries through questionable means. Gifts from colonial administrators that were essentially stolen wealth. Artifacts that should have been returned to their countries of origin. Accounts in foreign banks that nobody talks about. Your great-grandmother, the Queen Mother, told me about some of these shortly before she died. She was conflicted. She'd benefited from this hidden wealth her entire life, but she also knew it was wrong, that it represented exploitation and theft dressed up as royal prerogative. She gave me access to one of these secret accounts. Not a large one, not by royal standards, but substantial, about 15 million pounds. Money that came from Indian jewels that were gifted to the crown during colonial rule, but really belonged to Indian royal families who had no choice but to surrender them. The Queen Mother wanted that money returned. She wanted it used to make amends. But she couldn't do it herself. She was too visible, too monitored. So she gave it to me, told me to be careful, to wait until the time was right, to find a way to return the money to its rightful owners without causing an international incident. I never got the chance. I died before I could figure out how. So now it's yours. The account information is in this envelope. The money is still sitting there in a private Swiss bank under my name. When I died, nobody knew to claim it. Nobody knew it existed except the Queen Mother, me, and now you. What you do with it is up to you. You could keep it, add it to your own wealth. Nobody would know. Nobody would question it. But I hope, God, I hope, you'll do what the Queen Mother and I couldn't. Find a way to return it. Find Indian families or institutions that were robbed of their heritage. Give back what was taken. It won't fix everything. It won't undo centuries of colonialism. But it's something. It's a start. Your loving mom. William read the letter 3 times. Then he pushed it across the table to Emily. Read this. Tell me if I'm understanding correctly. Emily read it carefully. When she looked up, her expression was stunned. Your mother. She inherited 15 million pounds that nobody knew about, money that should have been returned to India. Apparently, William's voice was flat, and she hid it from everyone. From the executors. From the palace. From everyone except us. What are you going to do? William didn't answer. He was pulling out another document from the envelope. This one was typed, an official-looking paper with the letterhead of a Swiss bank. Account numbers. Access codes. Statements showing a balance of 15,347,829 pounds as of August 1997. Jesus, William whispered. There were more documents. Diana had been thorough. She'd included research about where the jewels had come from originally, which Indian royal families had been forced to surrender them, how the British Crown had liquidated them in the 1960s and moved the money into secret accounts. She'd also included suggestions for how to return the money anonymously. Charitable trusts, educational foundations, ways to funnel the money back to India without creating headlines about royal theft and exploitation. Diana had been planning this, researching it, preparing to act on it. And then she died, and the secret had died with her. Until now. There's more, Emily said softly, pointing to other papers still in the envelope. William pulled out the next item. It was a letter from Diana to William specifically. Personal. Private. William, by the time you read this, you'll probably be older than I am now. Maybe you'll be married. Maybe you'll have children of your own. Maybe you'll have become the man I always knew you could be. I'm giving you this responsibility specifically because you're going to be king someday. And kings have power. Power to make things right. Power to acknowledge past wrongs. Power to change how the monarchy operates. This money, this secret account, it's a test. Not from me. From history. Can the royal family acknowledge that some of their wealth was built on exploitation? Can they make amends? Or will they keep pretending that everything was legitimate? That the empire was benevolent? That nothing needs to be returned or apologized for? I know what the palace will tell you if they find out about this. They'll say it's ancient history. They'll say giving back this money will open floodgates of demands for reparations. They'll say it will damage the monarchy's reputation and financial stability. They're right. It will open floodgates. Because this isn't the only secret account. This isn't the only stolen wealth. The monarchy is built on a foundation of exploitation, and returning this 15 million pounds is admitting that. But William, darling, it's the right thing to do. You know it is. I raised you to understand the difference between right and wrong, between duty and morality, between protecting the institution and being a good person. You're going to have to choose. And I can't tell you what to choose. I can only tell you what I hope you'll choose. I hope you'll be brave. Braver than I was. Braver than your great-grandmother. Brave enough to admit that this money doesn't belong to the royal family and never did. I hope you'll find a way to return it. Quietly if you can. Publicly if you must. But return it. Because if you don't, if you keep it or let it sit in that account forever, then you're choosing comfort over justice. And I didn't raise you to make that choice. I love you, William. I've always been so proud of you. Not because you're going to be king, you didn't choose that, but because you're kind and thoughtful and capable of genuine empathy. Those are qualities the monarchy needs. Qualities I hope you'll keep even as the system tries to squeeze them out of you. Be brave, my darling. Do the right thing, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Mum. William finished reading and set the letter down carefully. His hands were steady, but Emily could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw was clenched. She knew, he said quietly. She knew that finding this would force me to choose between the family and doing what's right. What will you choose? Emily asked. William laughed, a short, bitter sound. That's the question, isn't it? That's always the question for people like me. Institution or morality? Duty or conscience? The easy thing or the right thing? He stood, pacing to the window. Outside, Kensington Gardens stretched green and beautiful. Tourists walked the paths where Diana had once walked, where William had walked as a child, holding his mother's hand, not knowing that someday he'd have to make impossible decisions about her legacy. If I return the money, William said, if I acknowledge that it was stolen and shouldn't belong to the royal family, I'm essentially admitting that the monarchy has been profiting from theft for centuries. That opens up questions about everything else. The crown jewels, the art collections, every artifact in every palace that came from India or Africa or anywhere else in the former empire. Yes, Emily agreed. The palace will be furious. They'll say I'm destabilizing the institution, giving ammunition to Republicans who want to abolish the monarchy, creating precedents that will cost the family billions in the long run. Probably. But if I keep the money, if I just ignore this envelope and pretend I never found it, then I'm doing exactly what my mother was afraid I'd do. I'm choosing the institution over her wishes, over justice, over doing the right thing. Yes. William turned from the window. What would you do? Emily shook her head. I can't answer that, sir. I'm not the one who has to live with the consequences. But you have an opinion. Everyone has an opinion. What's yours? Emily hesitated. Then she said, your mother risked a lot to hide this information. She risked legal trouble, family conflict, everything. She did it because she thought returning this money was important enough to justify those risks. So, maybe her judgment is what matters here. Not the palace's. Not even yours. Hers. William nodded slowly. There's more in the envelope, isn't there? Yes, sir. Show me. Show me everything. I need to see all of it before I decide anything. Emily pulled out the next document. It was another letter, this one addressed to Harry. Harry, I'm writing this separately from William's letter because I need you to know something specific. Something I've never told anyone. You're different from William. You always have been. Not better or worse, just different. William was born to be king. He's known his entire life what his role would be, what his responsibilities are. He's been trained for it since birth. But you, Harry, you've had the unique position of being royal without the burden of the throne. And that's given you freedom. Freedom to be more yourself. Freedom to question things. Freedom to choose your own path in ways William never could. I'm giving you something different from what I'm giving William. Not because I love you differently. I love you both more than life itself. But because your positions are different, your futures are different, your responsibilities are different. In this envelope, you'll find the deed to a property in Africa. Kenya, specifically. It's not large, just 200 acres. But it's yours. I purchased it secretly in 1996 using money from my divorce settlement. Nobody knows about it except the people I paid to acquire it. I bought it for you because I knew you'd need somewhere to escape. Somewhere that isn't England, isn't royal, isn't about protocols and duties and living up to expectations. Someday you might need to leave, to step away from the royal family and build a life on your own terms. When that day comes, you'll have somewhere to go, somewhere that's truly yours. The property is held in trust. The documents are all in this envelope. Nobody can take it from you. Nobody can tell you what to do with it. It's your escape hatch, your safety net, your guarantee that you always have options. I hope you never need it. I hope you find a way to be happy within the family. But if you don't, if being royal becomes too painful, too restrictive, too incompatible with who you are, you have this. You have a way out. Don't feel guilty about using it. Don't feel like leaving would be betraying William or the family or me. I want you to be happy, Harry. More than anything, I want both my boys to be happy. And if happiness means leaving England, then leave. You have my blessing. You have my love. Always and forever. Mum. Emily finished reading Harry's letter aloud and looked up at William. His expression was complicated, sadness and understanding and something that might have been envy. She bought Harry land in Africa, William said flatly. An escape plan, in case he needed to leave the family. It seems that way, yes. She knew. Even in 1996, she knew Harry might not be able to stay. That being royal might be too much for him. Or she just wanted to give him options, Emily suggested gently. The way a mother does. The way she couldn't have options herself. William sat down heavily. Is that why Harry left? Did he know about this property? Did Mum tell him before she died? I don't think so, sir. This envelope was sealed. But maybe, Emily hesitated. Maybe your mother told him something. Maybe not about the property specifically, but about having choices. About not being trapped. And I'm the one who's trapped, William said quietly. I'm the heir. I can never leave. I can never choose differently. This is my life, and there's no escape hatch for me. Your mother left you something too, Emily pointed out. The money. The responsibility to make things right. That's not nothing. No, William agreed. It's not nothing. It's complicated. Everything about this family is always so damn complicated. William pulled out the next document from the envelope. It was thicker than the others. Multiple pages bound together with a paper clip that had rusted slightly over 26 years. The top page was a handwritten note from Diana. These are the people I trusted. The ones who helped me when the palace wouldn't. The ones who saw me as Diana, not Princess Diana. I've left them things in my official will, small tokens, jewelry, personal items. But there are other gifts I couldn't include in the official will because the palace would have questioned them, would have demanded explanations, would have interfered. So I'm leaving these bequests secretly. The money for each gift is in the Swiss account along with the £15 million. Use whatever is needed to fulfill these wishes. Please. William turned to the first page of the list. Emily watched his expression change as he read. Surprise, then sadness, then something like anger. She left money to people, William said quietly. Specific people, with specific instructions. Who? Emily asked. William read from the page. Rosa Monckton, £500,000, because she was there during my darkest times and never betrayed my confidence. Use this to fund the charity for disabled children we always talked about starting. He flipped to the next entry. Lucia Flecha de Lima, £300,000, because she treated me like a daughter when my own family treated me like an inconvenience. Make sure her grandchildren's education is paid for. Another page. Hasnat Khan, £1,000,000, because he was the only man who loved me for myself and asked nothing in return. He won't accept this. Convince him it's not charity, it's gratitude. Use it for his medical research or donate it to a hospital in his name. Whatever he prefers. William's voice caught on the last name. She loved him. Hasnat Khan, not Dodi. The papers got it all wrong. It seems that way, Emily said gently. William kept reading. Paul Burrell, £750,000, because he kept my secrets and protected me when no one else would. He'll feel guilty accepting this. Tell him it's payment for all the times he should have had a day off but stayed with me instead. Tell him I trusted him more than anyone. That's millions of pounds, Emily calculated. She set aside millions for people the palace knew nothing about. People who actually cared about her, William corrected. People who weren't using her for her title or her connection to the throne. People who saw her as human. He pulled out another document. This one was typed, formal legal language. A deed of some kind. What is it? Emily asked. William read silently for a moment, his eyes widening. It's the deed to a property in Scotland. A cottage. Small. Remote. She bought it in 1995 under a false name. Used a shell company to hide the purchase. Why? Because she wanted somewhere to disappear to. Somewhere the press couldn't find her. Somewhere she could take William and Harry and just be normal. Be a family without photographers and protocols and palace officials. William's hands shook as he held the deed. We went there once. Summer of 1996. Mom said we were visiting a friend's cottage. We stayed for a week. It was the happiest week I remember from my entire childhood. You didn't know she owned it? No. She said it belonged to someone from her charity work. Someone who'd offered to let us use it. Harry and I, we went fishing. Mom made breakfast. We played board games in the evening. No staff. No security. Just us. William's voice broke. She gave us 1 week of normal. And I didn't even know she'd bought a whole house to make that happen. I thought it was just luck. Just kindness from a stranger. But it was her. She planned it. She bought that cottage so her sons could have 1 week of being regular children. Emily felt tears in her own eyes. What does the deed say? Who owns it now? According to this, it's been held in trust since her death. Maintained but unused. The trust was set to transfer ownership to me and Harry on our 30th birthdays. But we never knew about it. Nobody told us. Because nobody knew it existed, Emily realized. The executors didn't know. The palace didn't know. The trust company was operating on autopilot, following instructions from a dead woman, waiting for beneficiaries who had no idea they were beneficiaries. The cottage is ours, William said wonderingly. Harry and I own a cottage in Scotland, and we've never even been back there since that week in 1996. Will you go back? William didn't answer. He was pulling out the next item from the envelope, a photograph. Not old and faded, but professional quality. Recent looking, or recent for 1997, anyway. The photograph showed Diana standing next to an elderly Indian woman. Both were smiling. Behind them was what looked like a palace or a historical building. India, clearly. William turned the photo over. Diana's handwriting on the back. Maharani of Patiala, May 1997. She told me about the jewels. She forgave me even though I didn't deserve forgiveness. This is who the money belongs to. Her family. Her people. She met them. William breathed. She went to India and met the people whose wealth was stolen. She knew exactly where the money should go because she asked them. Emily looked at the photograph. The Maharani was old, probably in her 80s. But her eyes were kind as she looked at Diana. And Diana looked different, lighter, like being in India. Meeting this woman had lifted some burden she'd been carrying. There's more, William said, shuffling through additional photographs. Diana with children in an Indian village. Diana at what looked like a school or orphanage. Diana visiting temples and markets and rural communities. This wasn't an official visit, Emily said. I don't remember seeing any of these photos in the news. Because it was secret, William realized. She went to India secretly in May 1997, for months before she died. She went to research where the money should go. She met with families who'd been robbed. She documented everything. He found another note among the photographs. The Maharani of Patiala told me something I'll never forget. She said, "The jewels are gone. The money is gone. We accepted that long ago. But what we never got was acknowledgement. Nobody from your country ever said, 'We took something that wasn't ours. We're sorry. That was wrong.' The money is secondary. The acknowledgement is what matters. So William, Harry, if you return this money, make sure it comes with acknowledgement. Make sure the Indian families know that we understand it was stolen. That it was wrong. That we're sorry. Apology matters more than pounds. Remember that." William set down the note. His face had gone pale. "She's asking me to apologize on behalf of the British Empire. To admit that the Crown's wealth was built on theft." "Yes," Emily agreed. "The palace will never allow it. Apologizing sets precedent. It opens the door to reparations claims from dozens of former colonies. It's a legal and financial nightmare. But it's the right thing to do. Since when does that matter?" William's voice was bitter. "The royal family has spent centuries avoiding doing the right thing if it's inconvenient." "Your mother thought you were different," Emily said quietly. "She thought you'd be brave enough to choose differently." William laughed, a harsh, painful sound. "She thought a lot of things. She thought she'd live long enough to see us grow up. She thought she'd have time to handle this herself. She thought," his voice broke, "she thought I'd be ready for this. But I'm not. I'm 41 years old, and I'm still not ready to choose between my family and my conscience." "Maybe nobody's ever ready for that choice," Emily suggested. "Maybe you just make it anyway." William was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out the next document. This one was a letter, not handwritten, but typed. Official, legal language. A second will. "My God," William whispered. She wrote a second will. A complete second will covering everything the official one doesn't. He started reading aloud, his voice steady despite the emotion clearly behind it. "I, Diana Frances Spencer, being of sound mind and body, do hereby establish this codicil to my official last will and testament. The following bequests and instructions are to be carried out independently of my official estate and are not subject to probate or palace oversight." William looked up at Emily. "This is legally binding." She wrote a second will that nobody knew existed. "Is that allowed?" "I don't know." But she did it anyway. He continued reading. "First, regarding my personal diaries. I have kept detailed journals since 1981. These journals contain information that could damage certain individuals if made public. However, they also contain truth. Important truth about my marriage, my treatment by the royal family, and the dysfunction of the institution." William's voice dropped lower. "I request that my diaries be given directly to William and Harry when they reach age 30. Not before. They're too young to read some of what I've written without it affecting their relationship with their father. But by 30, they'll be men. Old enough to understand complexity. Old enough to decide for themselves what to do with what they learn. However, there is one entry dated March 1992, that I request be sealed permanently. What I wrote that night was true, but publishing it would serve no purpose except revenge. And I don't want revenge. I want my sons to understand me, but I don't want them poisoned against their father beyond what's necessary for them to understand the truth of my life. William set down the document. She wanted us to have the diaries. The executors gave us edited versions, sanitized, with whole sections removed. But Mum wanted us to have everything, uncensored. Where are the original diaries? Emily asked. I don't know. The palace claimed they were destroyed. But maybe, William looked at the envelope. Maybe they're still here, somewhere, hidden like everything else she didn't want them to find. He pulled out another document. This one made him go very still. What is it? Emily asked after a moment of silence. William's voice was barely above a whisper. Instructions about Camilla. Emily's breath caught. What kind of instructions? William read slowly, as if each word caused him pain. Regarding Camilla Parker Bowles. If Charles marries her after my death, I request the following. First, that she never be called queen. Princess consort at most, but never queen. The British people will not accept her as queen, and pushing for that title will damage the monarchy irreparably. Second, that she never be allowed to wear my jewelry. The pieces I was given as Princess of Wales belong to Catherine, William's wife, when he marries. Not to Camilla. She has no right to them, and I will not have my legacy worn by the woman who destroyed my marriage. Third, and most importantly, that she be kept away from William and Harry until they're adults and can make their own decisions about relationship with her. I don't want her playing stepmother to my sons. I don't want them growing up thinking what she did was acceptable. When they're grown, if they choose to have a relationship with her, that's their decision. But while they're children, she stays away. William set down the letter, his hands shaking. She tried to protect us. Even from beyond the grave, she was trying to protect us from Camilla. Were those instructions followed? Emily asked, though she already suspected the answer. Some of them. Camilla was kept at a distance when Harry and I were teenagers. We didn't see her much. But the jewelry. William's jaw clenched. Camilla has worn Mum's jewelry. Multiple times. I've seen photographs. Pieces that were meant for Catherine that Mum specifically said should go to my wife. And Camilla wore them to events like she had every right. That must have been painful to see. It was a betrayal. By Dad. By the palace. By everyone who knew Mum's wishes and ignored them because it was convenient. William's voice hardened. In the title, they're already talking about making Camilla queen when Dad becomes king. Despite Mum's explicit request. Despite knowing the public doesn't want it. What will you do? I don't know. I'm not king yet. I can't control what Dad does. But when I am king, William's expression was grim. When I'm king, things will be different. I'll honor Mum's wishes even if Dad didn't. He pulled out the next item, a sealed envelope within the larger envelope. This one was addressed simply to William. Private. Open alone. I should leave, Emily said, standing. No, stay. William's voice was firm. Whatever's in here, I'm going to need someone to verify I didn't make it up. Someone who isn't family. Someone who can't be accused of covering for me or lying for palace interests. Are you sure? I'm sure. William broke the seal on the inner envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper. He read it silently, his expression changing, confusion, then shock, then something that looked like grief mixed with understanding. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. She knew, he said hoarsely, about everything, about what would happen after she died, about how the palace would treat me, about the choices I'd have to make. She knew. What did she say? William's voice shook as he read aloud. William, my darling firstborn, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. And you're probably angry at me for leaving you with all these impossible decisions, for not handling this myself when I had the chance, for making you choose between the family and what's right. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I ran out of time. I thought I had years to figure this out, to return the money, to make things right. But I didn't. And now it's on you. I know what the palace will tell you. that protecting the institution is more important than individual morality, that kings think in centuries, not in moments of conscience, that your duty is to preserve the monarchy for future generations, even if that means compromising your values. Don't listen to them. Please, William, don't become what they want you to become. I've watched you grow up. I've seen your kindness, your genuine empathy, the way you care about people who have nothing to offer you in return. Those qualities are precious. The system will try to strip them away. It will tell you that feeling too much, caring too much, is weakness in a king. But it's not weakness. It's strength. It's what the monarchy needs more than anything. A king who remembers he's human first and royal second. You're going to be king someday, and you're going to have power that I never had. Power to change things, to make amends, to acknowledge that the institution you lead has done terrible things and needs to do better. Don't waste that power maintaining the status quo. Use it to be different, to be better, to be the king I always knew you could be. I love you, William. I'm so proud of you, not because of your title or your position, but because of who you are underneath all that. Stay that person. Don't let them change you. Even when it's hard, even when everyone tells you you're wrong. Stay yourself. William's voice broke as he finished reading his mother's private letter. He set the paper down carefully, as if it might disintegrate if handled roughly, and sat in silence for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Emily watched him, not knowing what to say. What do you say to a future king who's just been told by his dead mother not to become what the system wants him to be? Finally, William spoke. Call Harry. Tell him to come to Kensington immediately. Don't tell him why. Just tell him it's urgent. Emily nodded and left the room, pulling out her phone. William sat alone with the envelope and its contents spread across the table. 26 years of secrets. 26 years of his mother's voice, silenced by death but somehow still speaking. He pulled out the remaining documents. There were more. So many more. How much had Diana hidden in this one envelope? The next item was a sealed letter addressed to Harry. William considered waiting for his brother to arrive before opening it, but Diana's instructions had been clear. These were for both of them. They should know what was inside. He broke the seal. Harry, my darling boy, my sensitive, funny, rebellious son. If you're reading this, then you know about the property in Kenya. I hope it gives you what you need: freedom, space, a life on your own terms. But there's something else I need to tell you. Something I've never told anyone, not even William. Something that will hurt you to know, but you deserve the truth. Your father has always treated you differently from William. Colder, more distant, less interested. I told myself for years it was because you're the spare, not the heir. That Charles was just focused on William because William would be king. But that's not why. The truth is harder, crueler. Charles has doubts about whether you're his son. William's hands went numb. He read the sentence again and again. The words didn't change. I need you to understand. You are his son. Biologically, genetically, you are Charles's child. The rumors about James Hewitt are lies. I didn't meet James until years after you were born. Anyone who could do basic math knows that. But Charles doesn't believe it, or he doesn't want to believe it. During our worst fights, he would throw accusations at me. How do I know Harry is even mine? He'd say. How do I know you weren't already cheating? I begged him to do a DNA test, to prove it, but he refused. He said, if I do a test and it comes back that he's mine, then I've publicly doubted my own son. If it comes back that he's not mine, then I've publicly embarrassed the monarchy. Either way, it's lose-lose. Better to just leave it alone. So he did leave it alone, but he never stopped doubting, and that doubt poisoned his relationship with you. He kept you at arm's length because he couldn't fully accept you as his. I'm so sorry, Harry. I'm so sorry you grew up feeling your father's coldness and never understanding why. I'm so sorry I couldn't fix this. I tried. God knows I tried. But Charles wouldn't hear it. He'd rather doubt you forever than risk confirming the truth. You deserve better. You deserved a father who loved you unconditionally, who was proud of you, who didn't treat you like a question mark. I hope knowing the reason helps somehow. I hope it lets you stop wondering what you did wrong. You did nothing wrong, Harry. The failure was never yours. It was always his. I love you, more than you'll ever know. And you are my son. Completely. Undeniably. That's the only truth that matters. Mum? William sat frozen, the letter trembling in his hands. Harry's entire childhood suddenly made horrifying sense. The way Charles had always been harder on Harry. The way he dismissed Harry's interests as frivolous while taking William's seriously. The way he'd never seemed quite comfortable around his younger son. It wasn't about being the spare. It was about doubt. Doubt that Charles had refused to resolve, leaving Harry to grow up feeling rejected and never understanding why. Bastard, William whispered. You absolute bastard. The door opened. Harry stood there, slightly out of breath, his security officer visible in the hallway behind him. William? Emily said it was urgent. What's? Harry stopped, seeing his brother's expression. What happened? Are the kids okay? Is Catherine? Everyone's fine. William's voice sounded strange even to his own ears. But we need to talk. Close the door. Harry did, wariness in his eyes. You're scaring me. Sit down. William, please, just sit down. Harry sat on the sofa, his body tense. William picked up the envelope, walked over, and set on the coffee table between them. A maintenance worker found this 3 days ago, hidden in Mum's old storage room. It's been sealed since 1997, since 5 weeks before she died. Harry's eyes widened. What is it? A second will. A secret one, with things she couldn't include in the official will because the palace would have suppressed them. What kind of things? William didn't answer directly. Instead, he handed Harry the letter about Kenya. Read this first. Harry read in silence, his expression shifting from confusion to surprise to something that looked like grief. When he finished, he looked up at William with wet eyes. She bought me land in Kenya? An escape plan? She knew you'd need it. Even back in 1996, she knew you might not be able to stay. That being royal might destroy you if you couldn't get out. Did you get an escape plan? Harry's voice was sharp, defensive. No, I got responsibility. William gestured at the other documents spread across the table. I got 15 million pounds in stolen money that I'm supposed to return to India. I got instructions about how to be king without losing my humanity. I got the burden of making things right that she couldn't fix before she died. Harry set down the letter about Kenya. So even in death, you get the important legacy and I get the exit route. That's not what this is about, isn't it? You get trusted with moral decisions and secret money and instructions about kingship. I get property in Africa and implied permission to run away. Same dynamic as always. You matter. I'm the spare. Harry, there's more. Another letter. About you. About Dad. You need to read it, but I'm warning you. It's going to hurt. Harry's expression hardened. What did he do now? William handed him the letter about Charles's doubts. Harry read it slowly, his face going pale, then red, then pale again. When he finished, he crumpled the letter in his fist. He what? He doubted you were his son. Has doubted it your entire life. Mom tried to get him to do a DNA test to prove it, but he refused. Said it was politically inconvenient either way. Politically inconvenient. Harry's voice was dangerously quiet. My entire childhood, my entire relationship with my father was poisoned because he found it politically inconvenient to confirm I was actually his son. Apparently. Harry stood abruptly, pacing the room. I used to wonder why he was different with me. Why William got his attention and I got lectures. Why he was proud of you and disappointed in me. I thought it was because I wasn't good enough. Because I was too emotional or too rebellious or too much like Mom. It was never about you. Of course it was about me. He looked at me and saw a question mark instead of a son. Do you know how that feels? To grow up sensing your father doesn't fully accept you and never understanding why. No, William admitted. I don't. And I'm sorry. God, Harry, I'm so sorry. Harry stopped pacing, his back to William. When he spoke again, his voice was thick with tears. Is that why Mom left me the Kenya property? Because she knew I'd eventually need to get away from him? from all of this? Maybe. Or maybe she just wanted you to have options. The way she never did. Harry turned around. His eyes were red but angry. What else is in that envelope? What other family secrets has Mum been hiding for 26 years? William gestured at the table. A lot. Instructions about Camilla. Money for people who helped her. Research about stolen royal wealth. A second will that contradicts the official one. Letters. Photographs. Proof that everything we thought we knew about her estate was incomplete. Show me. For the next 2 hours, the brothers went through everything. William explained about the Swiss bank account with £15 million in stolen Indian wealth. About Diana's trip to India to meet the families who'd been robbed. About her instructions to return the money with an apology. Harry listened, his expression growing harder with each revelation. She wanted you to apologize on behalf of the British Empire, Harry said when William finished explaining. To admit the crown's wealth is built on theft. Yes, the palace will never allow it. I know, but you got to do it anyway. William was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I don't know. Returning the money that I can do quietly. Set up trusts. Fund scholarships and medical facilities in India. Nobody needs to know where the money came from. But the apology, the acknowledgement that it was stolen, that's the part Mum said mattered most. And it's also the part that sets precedent. The part that opens the door to reparations claims from every former colony. The part that could cost the monarchy billions in the long run. Harry laughed bitterly. So you're already calculating the cost. Already thinking like they want you to think. I'm thinking like a king, Harry, which is what I'm going to be eventually whether I want to or not. Mum wanted you to think like a human being first. That's what she said in her letter, wasn't it? Be human first, royal second. It's easy for her to say. She's dead. She doesn't have to live with the consequences. The words hung in the air between them. William immediately regretted saying them, but he couldn't take them back. Harry's voice was cold. So you're not going to honor her wishes. You're going to take the money, keep it quiet, and maintain the status quo. Just like Dad would do. Just like the palace wants. That's not fair, isn't it? You have the power to do something meaningful. To acknowledge that the system is corrupt. To make amends. But you're already talking yourself out of it because it's inconvenient. Because it's complicated. Because actions have consequences and I can't just. You can't just do the right thing because it might be difficult. That's your argument. William stood, facing his brother. Don't you dare judge me. You left, remember? You walked away from all of this. You married Megan and moved to California and built your own life. You don't have to make these decisions anymore. But I do. I'm stuck here. And when I'm king, every choice I make affects millions of people. So forgive me for not rushing into something that could destabilize the entire institution. Maybe the institution needs to be destabilized. Maybe that's the point. Maybe Mum wanted you to have the courage to break things instead of just maintaining them. Or maybe she wanted me to use judgment, to be thoughtful, to consider consequences, to make excuses. They stared at each other. Emily, who'd been sitting quietly in the corner, cleared her throat. Perhaps you should both take a break. This is a lot to process. You don't need to decide everything right now. Harry turned to her. What do you think? You read Mum's letters. What do you think she wanted William to do? Emily hesitated. I think she wanted him to have a choice. She could have returned the money herself. She could have made the apology herself. She had 5 weeks between writing this will and her death. But she didn't. She left it for William to decide. Why? Harry asked. Maybe because she understood what William said. That being king is different from being a private citizen. That his choices affect the entire institution. She gave him the information, the context, the moral framework. But she left the final decision to him because she knew he'd have to live with the consequences in a way she wouldn't. William sat down heavily. So what do I do? Emily looked at the documents spread across the table. 26 years of secrets. Diana's handwriting. Her hopes. Her fears. Her desperate attempt to make things right from beyond the grave. I think you honor her in whatever way you can, Emily said quietly. Maybe that means returning all the money and making a public apology. Maybe it means returning the money quietly and making changes within the institution without public acknowledgement. Maybe it means something else entirely. But you honor her somehow. You don't just lock this envelope away and pretend it never existed. What about the rest of it? Harry asked. The bequest to her friends. The instructions about Camilla. The letter to the Queen Mother about the safety deposit box. What do we do with all of that? William picked up the list of bequests. Rosa Monckton, Lucia Fletcher de Lima, Hasnat Khan, Paul Burrell, people who'd loved Diana and been loved by her. These people helped Mom when she was suffering. They were there for her when the palace wasn't. They deserve what she wanted them to have. Even Paul Burrell, Harry's voice was skeptical. After he published all those books about her, she wanted him to have £750,000. Who are we to override that? And the instructions about Camilla? About her not wearing Mum's jewelry. William's jaw clenched. Too late for that. Camilla's been wearing pieces for years. Dad gave them to her. The palace claimed Mum's letter of wishes about the jewelry wasn't legally binding. But this was legally binding. These instructions are formal. Are they? This was never probated. Nobody knows it exists except us and Emily. If we try to enforce it now, 26 years later, the legal challenges would be enormous. Harry stood, grabbing his jacket. So that's it? We found Mum's real wishes, and we're just going to ignore them because it's legally complicated? That's not what I said. That's exactly what you said. You're making the same calculation they always make. Protecting the institution over honoring the people it hurt. Where are you going? Away from you. Away from this. I can't. Harry's voice broke. I can't listen to you rationalize why we shouldn't do what Mum explicitly asked us to do. Harry, wait. But Harry was already gone, the door slamming behind him. William listened to his brother's footsteps receding down the hallway, followed by the quieter footsteps of a security officer. Emily cleared her throat gently. He'll come back. When he's had time to process. Will he? Harry and I, we've been drifting apart for years. Maybe this is just the final break. The thing that proves we're too different to bridge the gap. You're brothers. You both loved your mother. That's not nothing. William picked up Diana's personal letter to him again. Read the last lines. Stay yourself, even when it's hard. Even when everyone tells you you're wrong. Stay yourself. She wanted me to be brave, William said quietly. But what if being brave means destroying everything? What if the right thing to do morally is the wrong thing to do practically? I don't know, Emily admitted. But maybe that's the question every person in power has to answer. Not just kings, anyone with the ability to make change. Do you protect the system or do you challenge it? Do you make the safe choice or the right choice? William stood, walking to the window. Outside, the gardens of Kensington Palace stretched into the distance. The same gardens where his mother had walked, where she played with him and Harry, where she tried to give them something like a normal childhood despite the weight of their positions. What would you do? William asked. If this was your decision, if your mother had left you £15 million in stolen money and asked you to return it, what would you do? Emily considered the question carefully. I'd probably do what your mother did. I'd research where it came from. I'd figure out who it should go to. And then I'd find a way to return it that honored both my mother's wishes and my own responsibilities to the people depending on me. That's a political answer. It's a human answer. We all have competing loyalties. We all have to balance what's right with what's possible. Your mother understood that. That's why she left the choice to you instead of making the choice herself. William turned from the window. I need time. Time to think. Time to figure out what's possible without destroying everything. How much time? I don't know. Weeks. Months. However long it takes. And the envelope, the documents, lock them away. Somewhere safe. Somewhere only I can access them. Not the palace vaults, they'll ask questions. Somewhere private. Emily nodded. I'll arrange it. And Emily, thank you for bringing this to me instead of going through official channels. for understanding what my mother wanted. It's what any decent person would do. After Emily left, William sat alone with the envelope and its contents. He thought about calling Catherine, his wife, telling her what he'd discovered. But he wasn't ready to share this yet. Wasn't ready to explain the impossible choice his mother had left him. He picked up the photograph of Diana with the Maharani of Patiala. Two women, separated by age and culture and history, but united by understanding. The Maharani had forgiven Diana, even though Diana's family had stolen from hers, had given her blessing for the money to be returned. Diana looked happy in that photograph, lighter, like meeting this woman and acknowledging the theft had lifted some burden. William wanted that lightness, wanted to feel like he'd done the right thing. But he also wanted to protect the monarchy, to preserve the institution for his children, to be a good king. Could he do both? Could he honor his mother's wishes while still protecting his future kingdom? He didn't know. He honestly didn't know. But he knew one thing. He couldn't lock this envelope away and pretend it never existed. He couldn't do nothing. Diana had trusted him with this for a reason. She believed he was capable of making difficult choices, of being better than the system that had destroyed her. He had to believe that too. Had to believe he could find a way forward that honored both his mother's morality and his own responsibilities. He pulled out his phone, texted Harry. "I'm sorry. You're right. We need to talk more. Come back when you're ready. I promise I'll listen." The response came quickly. "I'm sorry too. This is hard. For both of us. I'll come back tomorrow. We'll figure it out." William set down his phone. Tomorrow. They'd figure out tomorrow. And the day after that. And however many days it took to decide how to honor a dead woman's wishes without destroying the future she'd wanted for her sons. He looked at the envelope one more time. 26 years Diana's secret had waited. It could wait a little longer while he figured out what to do with it. But not forever. Eventually, he'd have to choose. Between duty and conscience. Between the institution and morality. Between being the king the palace wanted and being the man his mother had raised him to be. He thought about what Diana had written. Be human first, royal second. That was the instruction, the wish, the hope she died with. William picked up the letter to the Maharani, the bank account information, the research about stolen jewels. He spread it all out on the table and began reading carefully, taking notes, making plans. If he was going to do this, if he was going to honor his mother's wishes, he needed to do it right, thoughtfully, in a way that achieved her goals without destroying his future kingdom. It would take time. It would take careful planning. It would require discretion and strategy and probably some degree of deception to keep the palace from interfering. But he would do it. Somehow he would find a way. Because Diana had believed in him, had trusted him with the most important decision of his future reign, had known he was capable of being different, of being better. He couldn't let her down. Even 26 years after her death, he couldn't let his mother down. Outside the window, night was falling over Kensington Gardens. The same gardens where Diana had once walked with her sons, telling them stories, making them laugh, preparing them for lives they hadn't chosen. William sat in the growing darkness, surrounded by his mother's secrets, and began the work of deciding what kind of king he wanted to be. Not the king the palace expected, not the king the history books would predict, but the king his mother had believed he could become. A king who remembered he was human first. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough.